Hi, my name is Jeremy. This is Red Means Recording. Recently, Novation came out with an update for this analog base station 2 synthesizer that I got right here that added some really, really cool features. And one of those features is called AFX Mode. And what AFX Mode does is assigns a different patch to every single key on the thing. Every single key on the base station here within the context of this keyboard here is a different patch. Now, you can hear that I'm also sending out a signal to the kick drum channel on the OPZ, which is something that we'll get into in a second. It's not intentional. I'm not sure how to fix it. But anyways, what you just heard were all stuff from the internal base station 2 engine, which is supposed to be an analog monophonic synthesizer, but with these updates, it's now paraphonic. It's all kinds of stuff, and I'll be doing some more videos about it, making some music with it later. But with AFX Mode, I got the idea of, okay, well, how can I sequence this? How can I sequence this cool AFX Mode thing in a way that would sound like Aphex Twin, I guess, because, you know, you have this ability to morph and change patches really quickly. You know, what can I use to do this? So I tried using the Digitact and I ran into a couple issues. One, the sequencer just wasn't doing what I wanted it to. And two, I was running into some strange technical issues, which I decided I didn't want to try to figure out. So I turned to the OPZ. Recently, Cuckoo did a video where he showed off what he could do with the OPZ, where plugging it in a USB-C cable into something directly could turn it into a MIDI sequencer automatically, because this thing has a USB host in it. So I was like, well, let me try that. Let me get a USB-C to USB-B cable and plug this directly into the base station 2 and see how far I can take it. And the answer is pretty far. I have sequenced a series of patterns on here that use this patch from AFX Mode, which is patch 3. And I'm sequencing stuff with it, and I have drums coming out of the OPZ, and I can play it, and it's really fun. So for anyone else that is thinking about doing something like this, I'm going to walk you through the technical process, and then I'm going to play with it a little bit, and yeah, we'll see how it works out. So the first thing that you need to do is get the appropriate cable. Like I said, this is a USB-C cable going into USB-B cable in the back of the base station 2. It's just directly plugged in. That's it. The next thing you need to do is think about your MIDI channels. So in the app here on our friendly iPad, if we go over to Midi Setup, you have now access to every single track that is on here, and you can set all kinds of MIDI information. On the right are global things, on the left are things specific to the channel that you're on. I'm using the chord track here to sequence the base station 2. It's on channel 1. The base station is set to channel 1. I could change that channel if I wanted to, but I decided to just stick with channel 1. By default, these channels go from 1 to 16. And I wanted to use the drums, and I couldn't have the drums sequencing the base station. I just wanted to use the drums on their own. So this kick channel, we normally leave it on 1. I switched it to 16. I switched all of these up to 16, as you can see. And then up here, I just gave up because I didn't think those were going to mess with the base station at all. So setting your MIDI channel is your next step. You'll also notice that all of these CC numbers here are set to 0. And I did that for everything. These can all be assigned to whatever you want. You can use the touchpad here to assign these to whatever CC number you want. And a CC message is a control message that will control some aspect of this synthesizer or other synthesizers or other things. There's a whole list of CC messages per synthesizer. So if you have a synth, you should investigate CC stuff because it's how you're going to use the synth with MIDI. So that was great. It started to work, but I had an issue. Every single time I would change a pattern on the OPZ, the base station 2 would increment a patch up. It would go one patch up and ruin the continuity of what I was doing. I'm like, why the fuck is it doing that? So that's called a program change. The OPZ was sending a program change to the base station every single time I changed the pattern here. And that was not good. I wanted to stay on one patch that I had decided on in AFX Mode here throughout the entirety of the thing. So I screwed around with alt program change here. That didn't work. I did a bunch of stuff, and eventually someone on my Discord helped me out and was like, yeah, so if you mount the OPZ onto the computer, there is a JSON file that contains all of the MIDI options, and you can edit it by hand, and that will work for you. So I'm going to show you that really quick. Editing JSON is not glamorous, and I never thought I'd have to do it to make music, but here we are. So let me grab a cable, I'll plug it into the computer real quick, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here is the OPZ mounted on my computer right here, and I'm going to go into config, and there is our JSON file for MIDI right there. You can see there's a couple other things that you can edit. So I'm going to open this with a rich text editor. I'm going to use Sublime Text because JSON's a markup language, and using a thing that can handle markup languages or whatever language you're using it in to give you this kind of nice formatting really, really helps. So let's just start at the top. Alt program change is false. We saw this option in the MIDI controls on the app. Channel 1 to active, false. Enable program change. This was set to true, and enable program change is, in this respect, is not available in the OPZ app. So this is what I need to send to false. Incoming MIDI, false. Excuse me. So this should technically mean that the OPZ is not receiving any MIDI information from the external synth or the external sequencer. And I'll show you why this is broken in a bit. Midi Echo, meaning that it will echo whatever MIDI is coming in or out, I believe. Outgoing MIDI true, so you need this to be true so that you can send MIDI to the synth that you're trying to sequence. Here is that matrix of CC numbers that you can set to whatever you want. So this is super useful if you want to be able to have robust MIDI control over your thing. And I have some errant numbers here, so I'm going to go ahead and set these all to 0 just because. These would normally say like 1 through 16 here when you with a fresh JSON file. Timing clock in, I don't need anything to time the OPZ. I don't need anything to clock the OPZ because the OPZ is the clock master, so that's set to false. Timing clock out, set to false. Someone told me that the issue I was having with the mod wheel, which I'll show you, was based on this, but setting this to false didn't change that, so that sucks, and I don't know why. Track channels, here are your track assignments, and you can see that it's offset by 1 because it's from 0 to 15, not 1 to 16 like you would expect your MIDI channels to be. So in this case, 0 is 1, 15 is 16, 9 is 10, etc., etc. And then track enable, true, 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 true. We'll save that. We'll close it. We'll close that. We'll go ahead and trash our OPZ there. Great. So now I have it working. Small problem, and I'll show you this real quick. We're going to go over to our kick track. Now watch what happens when I turn the mod wheel up and down. I don't know why it's doing this, but the kick track is still being affected by what's going on the bass station. And that goes for that mod wheel there. If I turn the filter, it changes the volume of the kick track. Pretty weird shit. I could not tell you why that's happening. It's super frustrating. If anyone knows why this is happening, I would love to hear it in the comments. At this point, that is the one thing I need to get figured out for this system right here that I have in front of you to actually kind of make sense and work for me from a performance standpoint. But other than that, this thing's real fun. The cool thing about having a synth and the OPZ is that you can play the punch-in effects, and all of the step components also work on the synth. Anyways, sounds better in context, so let's go ahead and do that.